What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Tony Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by JD, the North Texas Eagle, who's now in the business of breaking news, I suppose. Um, and guys, there's obviously something that's just happened. Is North Texas coach Littrell has recently, super recently, been relieved of his head coaching duties at North Texas, and we're going to discuss a little bit about that. But before we get into that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of G5 football, college football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that is truly all that we talk about. All right, JD. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. And what are your just kind of initial thoughts here?
I mean, it's huge. I felt like after the Ren Baker news that this wasn't going to happen. Um, I you hate when anybody gets fired, especially a guy like Seth, who you could tell like had put his heart and soul into North Texas football. I think that we talked about like on the last show that North Texas had made huge strides since the day he was hired. I mean, he's accomplished some things that have never been accomplished um, at North Texas. So it's sad, sad to see him go. I mean, and as far as like the human aspect of stuff, you hate seeing, because not only was Seth fired tonight, there's going to be a lot of people on that staff that's, looking for jobs as of tomorrow morning. So when you look at that side of it, but at the same time, it's kind of a turning point or crossroads, I guess you could say, with North Texas program. We've got to decide is had Seth reached the ceiling of the program, or does Neil and whoever the next AD is, do they have a guy that's already? I mean, do they have a guy higher that can take North Texas to the next level? I mean, we've kind of seen where Seth could take us, and like I said, that's the biggest question I have: is that North Texas ceiling, or was that just Seth's ceiling? So that's the main question to be answered, I guess, moving forward.
Yeah, and to kind of just you know push the point a little further of kind of what you and Harry have talked about in the past on your podcast too, and I'll leave the link to the Go Mean Green podcast. I'm sure Harry and JD and maybe Emmett will jump on together and do probably even more in depth kind of review of all the things going on than we will even on here. But just kind of quickly recapping this last game that Coach Littrell coached in, the championship game at UTSA. I was fortunate enough to make the trip down. It was a lot of fun. I mean, the outcome was obviously not what we all wanted as North Texas fans, but it was a lot of fun. And going to the presser afterwards, you just see. I mean, I don't want to air out their business, but the players were emotional. I mean, that they wanted to win that game. They put a lot of effort into it. Same with the coaching staff, and Coach Littrell, although I don't disagree with this move necessarily, you can't deny that he's done a lot of things. He's elevated the standard here because of him, making bowls, and I guess even making 2 conference championships in the span of 6 or 7 years isn't enough, and we think that because of the success that he's brought here to North Texas. So it's really unfortunate, and for what it's worth, if they could keep a couple of guys on staff, like maybe a Coach Cobbs and a Coach Mays, those guys have rooms full of really talented football players that are not transfer guys who I think would be real assets to the next coaching staff, and as well as others on the team and other players and all of that. But that's just kind of my own personal feelings of the matter. But anyway, JD, so you were sitting on it for a while. You're pretty tight-lipped. I mean, you told me some stuff, but you had you left. You always hold the cards close to the vest, and but where do you think what do you think is the next step? Who do you think will be the interim coach? And excuse me, phone's going off for this bowl game. I mean, can you just give us any leaving thoughts before we jump off here?
I think Phil Bennett will be the interim coach going to the bowl game. I think that's at least key to maybe keeping some of the guys. I think that's my biggest fear was when I heard the news that we were making the change was, with Tuesday being the day that kids can jump in the portal as a mass exodus before we go and face a very good Boise State team. So that was my biggest fear. But I think Phil is a guy that can, rally the troops and maybe at least keep the core of the team together. I think you'll still have some deflections, but at the same time, I think what doesn't need to be lost here is even if North Texas would have kept Seth, I think that we had a lot of talented kids that were going to hit the portal anyways. I think that's just the state of college football right now. So I don't know if it's more or less with the firing of the coach, but that will be something to keep an eye on head into the bowl game. That not only the health after the conference championship game, who will be able to play, but also who's still left to play.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it'll be an interesting time these next maybe few days, week. I'm not sure, just to see what happens, and we can go into full speculation mode here in our later video of who they may go after. But I think great job to Coach Littrell, and wish I know a lot of North Texas fans, regardless of what we may say on Twitter, sometimes really wish them well going forward, and that they all land in good spots. A lot of really good coaches on that staff. So anyway, it's North Texas is moving very quickly into a very interesting and crucial time in its athletics history, and finding a new head coach before we head into a new and very much improved conference on the talent level. So anyway, JD, thank you so much for lending your time, and congrats, and go me green.
Go Mean Green.